All right, so we're officially starting right on the dot at 8:15. So I'll go till at 8:45. Yeah. All right. All right. So it is informal. So no need to be formal. But as far as the video goes, the introduction. My name is Rabbi David Katz or David Katz. We're in the yeshiva that I teach in. So in some circles, I should be known as Rabbi David Katz here, but in the dining world, I guess I'm David Katz. So take your pick, whatever floats your boat. So that's my quick little introduction. I'm going to follow my notes. So when I look down, I'm looking at my notes because I definitely want to get in all the main points. I have about 15 or 16 points on my list. So I'll try to swiftly go through these points. And the first one is kind of like the beginning and it's wrapped up in the end. And again, my relationship with, what's your name again? How do we call you? We don't know? We haven't figured that out. Dr. Yaakov Starr will call him for this event. Some of us know him by other names, but whatever. So my relationship with Dr. Starr will, I'll just call it that for brevity, will be clarified throughout the talk. But what I will bring in is start off with a principle that I think, again, I don't want to call you Yaakov. I have a complex, sorry.
No, that's good.
So there was a lot of principles and lessons on this journey. And again, I'm just jump starting in the middle. I don't expect you to know what that means yet, but hopefully by the end of this talk you will. One of the lessons that Yaakov has indirectly and directly taught me through this experience, and it's not so much that he taught me, it's that it became essential on the path of losing weight. And again, for those that don't know why we're here, for the sake of those who watch the recording that will eventually end up on YouTube, I guess the proper introduction would be my name is David Katz, and I lost over 50 kilos in less than 6 months. And for those watching in the video, there will be an insert video or picture here of what I used to look like, and this is what I look like now. So for the before and the after, it would have been nice to have had a slideshow. I understand that, but we're a bit limited, so you have the flyer or imagination, whatever suits you. And again, that's why we're here. I'm talking about that experience and how it's possible. And Dr. Starr, our friend Yaakov, is going to teach his perspective, which is different than mine, not in terms of the approach, but just, he's looking at it like this, and I'm looking at it like this. And we came together for the sake of, I had neck pain in my late 30s. Again, I'm going to start bringing points in randomly as I can remember from my list. So we'll call that the third, on my list I had that the 38 to 40 years. Right, I'm 40 years old now. So by the time I'm going to be 38, I'm living in Modin and I'm suffering from neck pain. And Dr. Starr is a chiropractor. And so I need to address my neck pain. That's effectively where it started. No serious other medical alerts, although the doctors were a little bit frightened by my condition, where I was at, and I was showing signs, nothing that would be ultimately chronic, but I was going down the wrong path. I was in a bit of denial. And Yaakov, I wouldn't say used scare tactics to get to me. It was more like the problems you have with your neck can go away if you lose weight. Isn't that pretty much more or less?
That's how we started.
That's how it started. And there was a little bit of a struggle back and forth in between sessions. You would call it encouragement. I call it a struggle. Why don't you go out and walk? And I'm saying, because I don't do that. Why don't you eat better? Because I don't do that. And eventually, those conversations became, I would even call them highly developed, but that's the end of the story. Now, you can already get a little bit of a sense of the journey, I imagine, right? We have this overweight patient who was getting neck treatments from his chiropractor friend and doctor, who is encouraging him to lose weight. Other people are scared from me or, nervous, concerned.
What was your top weight?
Top weight was probably approaching the 270 pounds, 280 pounds.
Kilo?
Kilos, about between 125 and 130. That's a good plug.
And you're down to...
And I'm down now to my goal weight, which was 73. And for kind of fun and my own little personal struggle, is to get down to 70 kilos, which I'll address that. Would you mind calm the kids down? Because
sure. How many pounds?
What's that?
Pounds you're down to how much?
Pounds I'm down to between a low weight of 155-ish, and I'm trying to walk around at 160, and I'm pretty much accomplishing that. walking around we can call that I'm walking at 160. So effectively, you're looking at a high end of 280 and a low end in the 150s. And I want to settle in the 150 zone. That's where I want to be. I would prefer not to see 160s anymore. But again, I could do it if I wanted to. I learned how to do it, and that's why we're here to talk about it. But I'm making it more of a practical journey at the end, like struggling with the last 3 kilos for the sake of the struggle. I don't want to commando it. I want to see what it's like to eat what I want in a nutritious, healthy way, and really feel the struggles. I didn't feel the struggle for the 6 months. I felt like boot camp for 6 months. And I don't think it's not a common problem to say that you have 100 pounds to lose. So my caloric intake nowadays is hovering around 2,000 ish, and in my peak dieting, I was around between 1,100 to 1,300 a day. So let me tell you that those extra 800 are like Gan Eden, Garden of Eden. It's really. You really feel the power of those 800 extra calories. And so again, if I wanted to remove those 800 calories, yeah, I could lose the 3 kilos. But I've made my goal of 73 kilos, and I want to experience the struggle now because I can. But again, that's the kind of the end of the talk. But the first principle that I want to talk about is, in Hebrew you call it bechira, and in English you call it free will. And in layman terms, you call it decision making. And so that's one of Dr. Starr's favorite things. I don't know if he would frame it or phrase it the same way that I do. But it's the art of making constant, daily, better, and good decisions. Because we, the people, are generally, my own little term, or I don't know if you use this term or not, but food stupid. We don't know label reading, calories, how they work. And again, I'm just going to start drawing from what I have in my notes. We get stuck in our danger zones where we don't know. And it's a laziness, it's an unpreparedness, it's a lack of educationness. And I'll give you a perfect example. Raise your hand, if you will, right? You've heard that popcorn is a great snack when you're dieting. You heard this? Anyone? People say, yeah, you can eat popcorn. Popcorn is a great snack. And it looks great, right? It's very light. It's a little airy bag. It can't possibly be wrong. And so, as my 2 kids can tell you, they like to eat their popcorn, and their grandmother buys popcorn. And I avoid it because, I'm at the point where if I haven't seen the label, I generally will not trust it. But I was hungry the other night, and I decided, maybe these popcorn pro people are correct, and I'll do it. So I did. I ate a bag of popcorn. And I had planned on going to the supermarket, because in my house, they throw the boxes away before I can read the label. So I was in kind of a guessing mode. And here, a little principle for you, guessing mode usually goes wrong. And another little guessing mode, which happened this past Shabbos, I was hungry, and again, in commando mode, it's called you can eat an apple. And I do. But I'm experimenting now that I made my goal, because I want to see how it works. On Shabbat, you cannot, the Sabbath, you can't weigh. It's against the Sabbath to use weighing measurements. So if it wouldn't have been Shabbos, very easily I would have weighed the portion of my cereal. But on the Sabbath, you cannot weigh. So I guessed. Now, you can legitimize what I did because it was the Sabbath. What can you do? So I used it as an opportunity. On the Sabbath, you're supposed to eat a little bit better, in excess. Now, religious views, can be debated, but I went with it. And the bowl that I was using was 200 grams, and I was hoping it was 100 grams. And I've never eaten out of those bowls before in terms of measurement. So I didn't know. And suffice it to say, I guessed wrong. So had it been 100 grams, the calculations would have been in my favor. I would have scored big. My caloric intake would have been on cue, and it would have been in a good day. But I had 2 bowls. So I ate double. And it ended up being my caloric intake for that day was probably a third more than it should have been. It should have been around 2,000. It ended up being 3,000. I've never had a 3,000 day since I started. That's called guessing wrong. And you want to learn from your mistakes. And mistakes are not to be feared or belittled or reprimanded. They happen. But you want to, when they happen, you got to learn from your mistakes. And as they say, I used to wrestle in high school. That's also part of the story. In wrestling, you're either winning or you're learning. Learning substituted for losing. We don't call it losing, you're learning. So when in the diet word, right? But in dieting, nutrition, when you lose a battle, don't consider it a loss. It's a learning experience. And it's an opportunity to get stronger and learn. So for the popcorn little analogy, I went to the store this morning for my Sabbath shopping, and I remembered to check if there was a healthy popcorn. So I found the healthiest popcorn. And in the label, in the labels, if you don't know how to read a label, you're going to get in trouble. And most people are label reading illiterate. Because number one, it's in Hebrew. This video is in Israel. So there's a bit of a learning curve for me, especially living in Israel. You have to get really proficient in label reading in Hebrew. Which for the longest time, I got protein and carbohydrates confused. Which isn't the worst thing in the world. Because you can recognize the numbers, but you have to be fluent in label reading. So there's a secret number that I find it to be essential in dieting. I know some people don't like the term, the D word in dieting, but for lack of a better term, I will call it dieting. And in Hebrew, it's called nitron. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but sodium. Now, I'm not an expert in sodium. Our doctor friend here could probably say much more about it than I can. I just learned from my experiences that it's very easy to get an astronomical number of sodium. And the recommended number is like 1,500 milligrams a day. Now, I don't know how the numbers work. I just know that I try to be under 1,500 a day, because that's what they say, they. And I trust they. Because I know if they are saying be 1,500, and they are correct in all their other numbers, meaning, and here's another principle I learned along the way. And this is a massive principle. In my aha moment, that you call my aha moment, which was prolonged over about a week, I found out through extensive Googling and talking to, again, we're oscillating between Yaakov and Dr. Starr, right? So, in my learning experience, which I would say it came down in the end of June of this year, it turns out if you lose 3,500 calories from your diet, scientifically, you just lost a pound. So in Torah, you call that concept lefi pshuto. It's like a conceptual truth. Now, why is it conceptual and not actual? Because as the Talmudist that I am, and we're sitting in the place that I teach Talmud, I'm saying like this. Let's take it to the radical extreme. Keep it in your mind, and you know, people ask how I lost the weight, and I view it from a Talmudic perspective, from an analytical perspective. So here's your first take on analytics. Ready? On one part of your brain, you just dropped 3,500 kilos. Everyone say yeah. Say yeah. You just, or kilos, sorry, calories. You just dropped 35, I don't care how, just say you did it. You did it? Good? Good. So what did you drop it from? So let's drop it from 8,000 calories. You ate 8,000 calories today. Pizza, everything. So by the numbers game, you can eat 8,000 calories, but you dropped 3,500 of them. You just lost a pound. You feel better? Lighter? Say yeah. Good. But it's a ridiculous analogy because there's a problem. Yes, you can lose a pound when you cut out 3,500 calories. And this is where you and I discuss a lot of our debates, not debates back and forth, but at the dieting world. They leave out key information. And it's misleading. And just now, I was guilty of that with you. I misled you. I convinced you in some way that you can lose. It is true. Let's throw me a bone and play along. It is true. You lose 3,500 calories from your diet, you lost a pound. That is true. But is it true that you can eat 8,000 calories a day and lose that pound? No. No. All you did was you shaved off 3,500 calories. You're still at whatever the math is. What is the math? I can't do it standing up without my microphone. You do the math. So you just ate 4,500 calories. Did you lose a pound? No, you probably gained a pound, at least. So that's what they don't tell you in the articles. So that's where you have to use your analytical brain and pick up the story.
So what you did is you gained a pound less.
Well, what I did was I figured out that the numbers work if you make them work, and you figure out how they work. So if we agree, and when you do a little bit of research, you'll see the 3,500 is a real number, but your 8,000 is a ridiculous number. So you must move that 8,000 to a more normal number. Now the secret is, how do you find your number? And I didn't have to find my number. This is where our friend Dr. Starr comes into the equation yet again. And in his passing comments to me, it was recommended that I use the app Lose It. Everyone can go on your Play Store for your Google Android users. We don't, even though Apple Day keeps a doctor away, we're Android Pro here. But it is also available on Apple. And you can get, we recommend, I think Lose It app. Now, why do I say use the app in terms of where I'm going with my 3,500 calorie little dialogue? Because in the app, it's very easy to sign up, and you put in your stats, and the point of the app is to track your food intake. And once you're tracking food intake, that's like a massive, massive gold mine. Because part of being food stupid is you are unaware of the numbers behind your food. How much food weighs, i.e., how much are you overeating? How much calorically dense foods are you eating that you are unaware of? And once you visualize through the app, now it's very, very easy to stop your mishigas. In Yiddish, that means your craziness. Because when you see that your favorite popcorn, and you enter it in, and you have the label, and you have to put in the stats, now your favorite popcorn has had, per 100 grams, 800 sodium. So now, how many foods are you eating with at least 500 to 1,000 of sodium? Let's say you had a lox and bagels and lox and cream cheese sandwich for lunch, with a bag of Frito-Lay potato chips, Fanta, popcorn for dinner. You had your pasta, the popcorn snack after dinner. You had your pasta for dinner, and you had French toast for breakfast with maple syrup, and 3 glasses of OJ, and for a snack, give me a snack. What do you want? Doritos? Right.
Put something healthy in there.
Well, but a lot of people would do such a thing. I was doing that, and I didn't know any of that. So already, now that I see it differently, the sodium is, we can't even count how high the sodium is right now. You can't count that. So if you're gonna look at dieting, I like to look at sodium as a focal point, because it is very, very, Dr. Starr will focus on whole foods. And I like to focus on sodium, because if you're getting more than your 1,500 a day of sodium, you're doing something wrong. Whole foods doesn't get you a sodium level that high. It's impossible. You're going to talk about you can eat as much as you want on whole foods. I'm going to say a little bit of it from a negative point of view. If you're over sodiuming, you're doing something wrong. It's got to be wrong. And the numbers always equate. So again, when I went to the store and I saw the popcorn, every number was off. So your popcorn theory, it's good for you, it's light, it's easy. Is that true? No, the calories were high, the sodium was high. Completely illogical snack food. There's no benefit along those lines of eating popcorn. So now, in the app, Lose It, it's going to tell you your recommended daily caloric intake, and you focus on your goal, And your calories just went from 8,000, which is ridiculous, no one's going to do that. But the goal is to find your sweet spot of the calories, which my goal, by lose it, it put me, when I was at 125 kilos, it had me at 1,800 calories a day. And I was eating very, very comfortably. I didn't even feel it. Dinner was full, and the only thing that I had to really learn, which was a totally massive part of the success, was what I learned and when I learned it. When I learned it was this summer. Now, can you tell me from what you know about Israel how summer differs from winter in terms of healthy eating? Anyone have an idea? Huh? Well, you're close. You left off the word melon. Melon season is in season. And melon season is like God's gift to dieting. So I thank God every day that my diet started in June, July. Because you can have a ton of watermelon, and your caloric intake is like 100 calories. And so couple that with Dr. Starr's suggestion that I start doing shakes, milkshakes, fruit shakes, smoothies. And I was a big fan of doing chocolate milkshakes in my blender. So I had a blender for years that never got used. And he would, as he was working on my neck, he would say, you have this nice blender. That would be a great tool for making shakes. So since it was melon season, it was, boom, right away, I now had a milkshake, smoothie every day for lunch. And so with the app, it was very easy to transition to my diet. Because I was eating a jug of shake every day with cantaloupe, watermelon, and other low-cal fruits, and I was stuffed. And Lose It is telling me it's only 500 calories what I'm doing. I'm saying that's a bargain, because for morning I'm having my coffee, which was under 100. I'm eating a jug of lunch. I'm stuffed. It's delicious. I want more, but I physically can't eat that much. So I'm winning here. I am absolutely winning. And then for dinner, I'm having a massive dinner. I'm saying this dieting is for me. I'm eating more now than I did when I was not dieting. Because even though you may eat the whole pizza, as you will say, you still kind of want more. I didn't want more after dinner and lunch, and I was full. So that went, that style, until basically as you lose weight on the app, your calories go down. And as Dr. Starr will tell you, your first move in losing weight is you're first filled with a bunch of junk. I mean, the beginning of it's not hard. You're just filled with, I don't know what it is, water, it's junk weight, it comes off. I don't even remember losing the first 15 kilos. I saw on Ellen talk show, a guy weighed, I think, 500, and he's down to like whatever. And he said in the first, month or whatever, he lost like 100 pounds. So it comes off quick. Once you're committed and you understand it, it pours off. So your calories go very quickly from 1,800, in my case, and it was down to about 1,400, 1,500 very quickly. Now you got to reassess and revalue your lifestyle. And that's where I last left you on our bunny trail called decision making comes in. Now you're making crucial decisions, and it becomes life-making decisions. Because to get every number in, remember we said that numbers are divine. Numbers always work. Whether it's in hours of the day, your timing, your scheduling, portion control, you start to learn the synchronicity of numbers. And until you are put in a numeric framework or a budget framework, numbers don't add up and they don't matter. You know what time you can eat dinner when you're not budgeting your time and your energy and your money and your food? You can eat whenever you want, however you want, without consequence. My time of dinner was generally 3 in the morning and a large pizza. I work American hours, So, we have pizza left over or frozen and pull it out, microwave. I had no framework of time and numbers because I work American hours and no food consciousness whatsoever. My weight was just, a distant memory of something that used to matter, and it was like being off. So to come back on a trail of responsibility is really what this is about. And when you have a weight to lose, whether it's medically or weight-wise, you got to recalibrate numerically first and foremost, because that's generally, at least in my case, that's where I was off. Maybe you're off somewhere else, but something's off. Something's got to be off. And diagnosing it, I'm guessing, probably isn't very hard to do once you start listening to the advice of the world coming back at you. In my case, I'm guessing it probably wasn't too hard for you. All right, seeing the size that I was at, probably wasn't too hard to guess what the problem was. So, in overtly obvious cases, and again, I think what you're saying, it's a simple fix once you get the person to see the light. And once you see that light, again, in my case, what was the beginning? I think, I don't even really remember. I'll tell you where, in my mind, where it began. My work is very stressful, not in this building, my other work I teach online. And I wanted an escape where I could get out of my body, which I was envisioning it as a jacuzzi and a sauna. I just had this vision. I want to get out of the house and kind of like, in a sauna and just doze off. So there's a gym down the street called Holmes Place, and I got the nerve to call, and this guy is egging me on to, walk, and those are not options at this time. And diet is certainly not, and he's saying, diet is like 80% of it. I'm like, no, it's not. We're going to lose all that at the gym, in my sauna, and it didn't make sense. I wasn't adding up, and I don't even know if I was trying to lie to myself. I just wanted him off my back. All right, just fix my neck, crack some bones, and make it go away. While I have my jacuzzi sauna treatment that I'm self-prescribing. So I call the gym, and they have these things, and it was May of this year, and so I plan a trip for my work, and the day that I get home, I join the gym, but during my time in America, I somehow got the idea that I was going to actually use the gym. I wasn't going to just go and zone out in the sauna hot tub. I was going to actually use the gym. I don't remember how it happened on the trip, but it did. So I bought, on the last stop in Texas, I bought gym gear. 3 or 4 XL shirts, 3 or 4 XL shorts, my first gym bag since high school, and a couple of other little trinkets. And signed up at the gym. This was in June of this year. And I did go to the gym, but I wasn't dieting. And I still wasn't serious, and I worked out a little bit. I think I tried the whirlpool, and I was just feeling it out. And that's when I don't even know how the diet thing really clicked. I honestly don't know. I know your influence was there, but I don't know how it got through. I really think it was that 3,500. I remember laying down and reflecting on where I've come from, where I've been, where I want to go. Somehow I found this 3,500. It was a gift from God. When I saw that there is a methodology and a framework and a formula called 3,500 calories in a deficit, you lose a pound. From there, we moved to 8,000. From there, we moved to you're being ridiculous. Then you have the gym gear, and you have the membership. And now, what Yaakov will teach is, and I found this out very quickly, Lose It tracks your exercise movements if you enter it. So I found out at the beginning of my dieting and gymming that guess how many calories you lose on a good day? Now, even if you're working hard, maximum. You're really pumping hard. I'm going to lie to you and flatter you. It's not going to happen. But again, I'll even really flatter you. This is not true. But let's say you lost 1,000 calories at the gym. That's the most flattering I'm going to give you. So if you're eating on your diet 2,000 calories, now you can hope to lose 1,000 of it at the gym. But that's a fantasy. On a good day, you'll lose 700. On a decent day, you can lose 500. On a lazy day, 200. So guess what your gymming is? You're not burning off your daily intake of the gym. Get that out of your head. What gym is another discussion. On one foot, what it is you're toning your body, and you're making your body into a fat-burning machine that can't exist without the diet to go along. So yeah, 90% of it is the diet. Because if you're going to be on your 8,000 calorie a day diet, you can gym all you want. And that 1,000 number, if you're eating 8,000 a day, isn't going to happen anyways. And if you're in great shape, it's still not going to happen. So the gym is not how you lose weight. The gym is how you help your body aid in the decision making that your brain is doing, called eating right and living right, lifestyle right, which goes back to our beginning of the micro decision making, which the Lose It app helps you get context by seeing the visuals. So when you make your mistake, and another principle that I live by is don't cheat, don't lie, don't withhold information. When you ate something wrong, don't say that, oh, but that doesn't count, or do-over, or you lied about the amount. You're just fooling yourself and delaying the inevitable. Because you're staring at reality. When you put a heaping teaspoon of sugar in your coffee, you know how much is really in there. Who are you really lying to? When you skim it and you say, I'm going to cheat and go less, well, what does that accomplish? Right? Torturing yourself won't work either. So just be true. Put in a teaspoon, because it calls for a teaspoon, what you're doing. You want to put 3 teaspoons in your coffee, then put in 3 actual teaspoons. The quicker you gain a grasp of reality, the quicker you get results. Because you know exactly where you're at. You're not lying to yourself by being skimpy. You're not lying by being overboard. You're being truthful. And then the numbers will have to add up. And they will add up. But then you start making better choices. So when you have 5 teaspoons, is that a good choice? You'll see very quickly it's not. White bread versus brown bread. That was something that I struggled with. When I went to eat my Shabbos bread, I wanted white bread. And I was right. Because I went to the health store. I guess I'll close soon. I went to the health store, and I saw that white bread had less calories than brown bread. So obviously white bread is superior to brown bread, and health fanatics are crazy. When you get deep into this game, you realize white bread is the same thing as a candy bar. There's no nutritional value, and you're like, but it tastes better. Well, yeah, it's a Kit Kat. So making your sandwich on white bread is like a Kit Kat. Brown bread, number one, it does amazing things for you, more than the white bread, if you choose to eat bread. And choosing or not to choose to eat bread is already a choice. I understand that. But if you're going to eat it, you got to make the better choice. And then you find out that once you break your addictions, I actually prefer to the brown bread now anyways. I wouldn't even go back to the white bread. So it's a constant improvement of life improvement and making better choices. And I would say, more or less, I covered all my points in a random order. We'll do Q&A afterwards, if anybody has Q&A. So in the meantime, introduce Rabbi, I was going to say, but Dr. Yaakov Starr.
Sure. You folks, yeah, first of all, does anyone know Rabbi Katz from before tonight? Has anyone seen, other than pictures? Okay, big difference. Yeah, honestly, even I was shocked at the changes that I saw, really. Let me just do a brief intro. I'll try to go through it now. My name is Dr. Starr, Joel Starr, Yaakov Starr. It just depends on which side of the world you catch me at. My training is in chiropractic. I finished school in 1998, which puts me just past 20 years. I have training in chiropractic, osteopathy, but I have a real passion for nutrition. And I have a clinic in the States in Silver Spring, Maryland, which I own and I operate with a partner myself. We have a multidisciplinary practice, so we practice medicine, physical therapy, and medical weight loss. So it's not something that I just happen to do on the side. I work a lot with a lot of different patients. I counsel them. In the last 6-7 years, we've helped probably about 2,000 patients. Now, first and foremost, I'm not here to tell you rules. I'm here to give you tools, okay? There is no one specific way, but all of you shared an interest in coming tonight because you saw probably a flyer, you heard from someone, wow, how did this guy lose 100+ pounds? How do you lose 50 kilo? Forget about 6 months, a year, 2 years. How does somebody do that? And it's a great question, okay? And there's not a specific secret, but as Rabbi Katz said, there is a methodology. There's a shift. There's a change in mindset. There's a change in lifestyle. But it comes with an awareness. And the first problem, and when I went to school 20 years ago, obesity rates were probably about 35-40% of the population. Do you know what they are now? They're between 68 and 72%. They're around 70% of Western eaters, Western diners, okay? That's not just Americans. It's anybody who's eating a standard American Western culture type of diet. Very high in fat, sugar, and salt. Very high in refined, highly processed, highly caloric foods. And it's a losing battle, no pun intended. You will systematically lose if you eat those types of foods. And I'm going to explain to you in the next few minutes why that is. And when you understand what's going on, Rabbi Katz had an aha moment when I was working with him in the summer, and I knew he got it. Okay, he doesn't remember, but I remember very clearly. And it's when you finally have that flash and it makes sense to you. So for him, it was more mathematical. It was more Gemara-like, Talmudic type of approach. It was a very logical approach that said, okay, my body burns a certain number of calories. If I take in more calories than what my body burns, right? You all heard this before. It's calories in, calories out. I'm going to tell you, it's not quite that simple. But our bodies burn a certain amount of calories every day. Okay? And if you take in more calories than what you burn, you're left with a calorie surplus. And if you keep adding that surplus, and after a while, you're going to add on weight. And if you have a calorie deficit, meaning you take in less calories than what your body's burning, either through increasing activity, that's where people start getting lost. They think, oh, well, that's okay. I'll just go to the gym. I'll get on that spinning bike and I'll work it off. You're never going to work it off, because if you eat those 2 cupcakes or that piece of pizza or that tub of ice cream or that little Kit Kat bar, you are never going to burn off that systematically, regularly. You won't. You'll lose. And if you don't believe me, go to any gym in this world, not just in Israel, not just in this country, not in America. You will see overweight people working hard all the time. And they're sweating. And you ask them, say, how long have you been working out? Oh, I've been working out for 8.5 years. Well, it's not working. Something's wrong. Okay, and this is what happens. Okay, there's a lot of confusion. Most people, the most taboo topics to talk about are what? Religion, politics, and I would venture to say nutrition. Because everyone's got an opinion, and it's always confusing, and this person's right. And if I'm right, that means that you're wrong, and you're not going to like it. And you start, my wife still to this day says, whenever we go for a Sabbath meal, she says, don't talk about nutrition, please. Just don't start talking about whole food nutrition. And she says, nobody wants to hear it, but people obviously do want to hear it. And I'm glad that you came. And this evening is nothing more than just a celebration of someone who really not just worked hard, but got it and figured it out and made it into a lifestyle and made miraculous changes. I mean, if you would have seen him 8 months ago and today, you wouldn't believe it. You just wouldn't believe it. So look at the before and after pictures, and I'm sorry we don't have a slideshow or a screenshot for that. It's just amazing. So that, just have this evening, share with you. We're not selling anything, okay? Bagel Cafe in Moriah and Buchman was kind enough to donate the food. And it's just really just a celebration. So I appreciate everybody coming. It's really nice. And hopefully you leave a little bit with some information that you can share with other people, or it can maybe impact your life. But here's how it works. Okay, here's the secret. Because you'll hear people say all different things. Oh, I have to eat high fat. and low carb, or I have to eat high carb and low fat, and the Atkins diet, and this diet, and this diet, and this diet. I'm telling you right now, with certainty, diets don't work. Okay? None of them work. None of them ever will work. They can't work. And here's why. We're designed to eat a certain amount. Okay? Let me take a step back. If you look at how many species are on this planet, okay, non-human, there's no species on the planet that counts calories. They eat until they're full and they stop eating. Why do we run into problems with eating as humans? And by the way, there's only 3 species that have weight problems. Humans and domesticated cats and dogs. And that's because the humans feed the cats and dogs. So what are we doing wrong? It's not in the water, it's not the power lines, it's not, it's the food that we're eating. And the types of foods that we're eating are not natural foods. Now, yes, I advocate whole food nutrition. I do advocate eating lots of fruits and vegetables, and if you can, almost ideally or exclusively. The science is there, nutrition is there. That's the best food that's designed for humans. Okay, I'm going to put that aside for a second, okay? But you have to understand that the foods that the average person eats are fake foods. They're not real. They're manufactured. They're manufactured by companies and industries that hire laboratory chemists to create the food in such a way that you're going to not want to take just one, right? What is the Pringles, right? Bet you can't eat just one, right? Because they're right. You can't. Even I will eat a Pringles every now and then and go, man, I just want to keep eating those. So they suck you into it, okay? And it's not a conspiracy thing, but it's a conspiracy thing. Why? Because they're in it to make billions of dollars. And the more money that they can make, then the more profitable they are, okay? There's not money in broccoli. You're not going to see huge ads for broccoli on the bus, but you will see Cheetos or Frito-Lay or whatever, Doritos, because there's a lot of money in that, okay? So the more they can get you hooked on it, and I will say hooked, because ultimately the foods that we're eating are fairly addictive. It's a low-grade addiction. And here's how and here's why it works, okay? So on the weight loss side, we understand that there's something called basal metabolic rate. Okay, I'm not going to bore you guys with technical, jargon and stuff, but there's a certain amount of calories our bodies burn just by breathing and just walking around. If you did nothing and sat up in bed and read a book for the whole day, you probably burn between 12 and 1,400 calories a day, depending on how big you are. A bigger guy like me, I'm 6 feet tall, I'm 1.87 m or whatever, I probably burn about 1,500 calories doing nothing, just breathing, okay? So add in a little bit of activity, then my body requirements might be around 20, maybe 2,100, 2,200, 2,300 calories, maybe a little more. And if I'm active, if I ran that day, and I burned the 400, 500, 600, 700 calories, depending on how active I was, well, then I need about 2,700 calories, 2,800 calories. Now, simple math. If I eat 2,800 calories, and my body burned 2,800 calories, I don't gain any weight. I don't lose any weight. If I happen to up my calorie burning, and I have to be more active, right? So then I'm going to lose weight, because now I've taken in maybe 2,200 calories, but I burned 2,800 calories, I got now a 600 calorie deficit, and if I add that up to the magic 3,500 calories, that equals 1 pound, or half a kilo. So that's math. So here's why diets don't work. We're not designed to be hungry. We're not supposed to, if we have a constant caloric deficit, you're going to pull your hair out. You're not going to be able to survive very long by trying to diet. Diet implies restricting calories. And how long can you do that for? How long can you go without eating? The average person you can survive without food for about 30 days. You can survive without water for about 3 days. You can survive without air for about 3 minutes, okay? So threes are pretty big. But the idea here is that you cannot really sustain yourself with a long-term calorie deficit. Just not how we're designed. Like I said, species out there, animals don't, right? They don't count calories. They don't have loseit.com. They don't have the apps. So how come they can do it? Because they're eating the foods that they're designed to eat. They don't go to the store and buy the junk food. They don't eat the pizzas late at night. They're not eating the ice cream at night. But we are. So now you look at these foods, and you're being duped because of the addiction, because they're super high in salt, fat, and sugar. And those are designed to really light up all of our stimulating receptors in our brain and going, whoa, wow, this is great stuff. Let's think about this for a second. Go back to nature. Go back a few thousand years or longer or however long. If you're walking through a field and you find some fruit, how do you know if it's good or not? Well, we were blessed with senses. We can see color. I can see if it has spots on the bananas. I can see if it's bruised. I can see if the apple is green. It's not quite ripe yet. I can pick it up and I can smell it. Does it smell ripe? I can taste it. Within a nanosecond, I can tell if that fruit is ripe or not. I don't have to put it through an app. I don't have to measure it. I don't have to send it to a lab. I can taste an apple and right away know that it's good or not. Well, it's good. Now, good means my brain immediately can detect if it's if it's sweet. That's why sweet is on the tip of our tongue. Okay? So we have receptors that help us know if the food is good or bad or not. So when you come to fake food, here's how you lose. It's called caloric density. All right? They take the food and they super concentrate it. How? Through processing, through refining. All right? I'll give you an example. If I eat an apple, how many calories? It's 100 calories, typically. 90 to 100 calories, depending on the size of the apple. Now, if I take a bunch of apples, I take 4 or 5 apples, right? And how many am I eating? 300, 400, 500 calories. What if I take a glass of apple juice? How many calories am I getting? A lot more. Why? Because it's super concentrated. What did they do? They took an apple off the tree. They took thousands. They chopped them up. They mashed them. They removed all of the really good stuff. They removed the fiber, right? They remove all of, and they super concentrate that so it's a pure juice. That juice is now much more caloric. What am I more full with? 4 apples or a glass of juice? The 4 apples, I'm going to be stuffed. And I'm going to stop. I might even stop after 2 apples, 200 calories. Well, a whole glass of apple juice is not going to do a thing for me because it just goes right in. It gets absorbed. The body just says, thank you, I want more. It's super calorie dense. So now look at the things like the chocolate, right? Or oil. The top of the line, I usually don't start with the oil, but I usually start with, down here, okay, lettuce. Per pound, I'm sorry, I'm still on pounds. If you want to figure out what it is in kilo, then just double the calories, okay? Because there's roughly 2 pounds per kilo, so I'm not going to get into the math. Math loses me. You start out with green leafy vegetables on the bottom side. It's about 100 calories per pound, okay? Vegetables, about 200 calories per pound. Fruit, about 300, maybe 400 calories per pound, depending on the fruit. Once you start getting up to beans and legumes and things that are a little bit more concentrated, you're at 400 or 500 calories. If you go to bread, bread is 1,500 calories per pound. 1,500. That's why it's so good, because your brain goes, holy cow, this is great. I mean, think about it. We are designed by nature to detect caloric density because it means survival. Now, we're hardwired to eat calories, but you gain weight, but you lose the battle because you're systematically overeating your calories. Now, yes, you can count calories, and that's why the apps help. And yes, you can try to budget it, but the mistake that people make is say, okay, I need 2,000 calories. I'm going to eat less than what I need to. But if you eat less on the bad fake foods, you're going to still lose. Why? Because one slice of pizza is what? 300 calories. Now, I eat 2, 3 slices when I used to eat pizza. I don't eat pizza anymore. But I eat 3 pieces of pizza. That's 1,000 calories easy. And guess what? I'm still hungry. So what do? I go systematically and I overeat on more of the same foods that I'm hooked on more of the same high calorie dense foods, and I've lost. There's no way I can go work it off at the gym. And then I gain slowly, right? We're all relatively in good shape when we're teens. By the time we hit 20 in college, we start putting it on. Mid-20s, we start working, we gain even more. We think it's stress. Not stress. It's been a cumulative process. When you get to 35 and 40, by the time we get to 50 and 60 and 70, we've already put on 50, 60, 70 pounds on average. You lose the battle slowly. It slowly sneaks up on you. Okay? So what's the solution? The solution is eat more real food. If I stood up here and I told you there's a specific diet, or I'm touting a diet, or I'm selling a diet, don't just walk out, because that's wrong. And don't listen to anybody that says, follow my special diet. The only diet that has been known and proven to be the most healthy diet is a whole food, plant-based diet. Eat fruits and vegetables. You don't even have to be religious, but if you want to, look in the first chapter of Genesis. That's what was designed for men. The fruit of the tree, the seeds, the produce. That's what we're supposed to eat. It has everything, okay? But I'm going to get off that soapbox. I'm happy to answer questions about that later on. But the key here is that we systematically fail because we eat things that are super high in calorie density. Bread's 1,500. Now, it goes more, right? Go up to chocolate. Ooh, we really love chocolate. Super high in calories, 2,000 calories per pound. Oil is at the top of the list. Oil, I'd say probably oil, pizza, and ice cream are probably the killers. The top. But oil's the worst. Why? It's 4,000 calories per pound. It's pure fat. It's pure liquid fat. I know I get a lot of flack because a lot of patients are like, well, but what about the coconut oil? What about this oil? And it's all the different kind of the polyunsaturated, saturated. Don't get it. That's just marketing confusion. And what I said at the very beginning, why are people confused is because we've got so many conflicting opinions. So many different. One day coffee's great for you. One day coffee's horrible for you. One day red wine is fantastic. The other one, red wine's going to kill your liver. I mean, we don't know what to think. And we're pushed and pulled and pushed and pulled, and that is how they want it. For a long time, cigarette smoking was kind of debatable. A long time, 50s. It wasn't until like probably the 60s, I think, that they finally said, you know what, or early 70s, where they finally came out with the Attorney General, the Surgeon General, and said, well, yeah, it's actually really bad. Why? They even had doctors promoting it. They had doctors on advertisements promoting. Doctors themselves smoked. And I think diet's very similar to that. The industry is very powerful, and they don't want you to think or know what is really truly healthy. Just eat our product, and you'll be fine. But you get hooked, and it's not your fault. It's not because you're lazy. It's not because you don't work out enough. And I would venture to say it's probably more than 90% as far as the equation goes. You want to lose weight, it's diet. It's about 95%, maybe even higher than that. And exercise is good, not to lose weight. Exercise is good for fitness. Fitness is not the same thing. You want to strengthen your body, tone your body, increase your flexibility. Get out there and move your body. True, but you're not going to lose weight that way. You just won't. It'll be very hard to, unless you're a pro cyclist or you're a professional basketball player. And look at them. They're top of their game. They're fit and trim. And then what happens when they retire? They balloon out. Why? Because they're not burning 8,000 calories every day anymore. You could do that. Professional cyclists on Tour de France, they're burning 10 to 12,000 calories a day. They can eat the pizza and not feel it. Why? Because now it's a math thing. They're burning 8,000 calories, they're taking in 6,000, it's no problem. It just burns right off. The average person is not doing that. If you go out and run for an hour, go run. Not walk, run. You'll still only burn about 700 calories. How do I know? Because my little watch tells me. I mean, you can clock these things. You can measure these things. There are apps now. There's no excuses today. Technology is amazing. You can ask Siri. You don't have to know. How much is an apple? Siri, how many calories are in an apple? She'll tell you. She'll tell you in 2 seconds. For the Apple people. I don't know what Android is. So the key here is focusing on what is a healthy item to eat. Does it mean we all have to go become vegetarian and vegans? It would be nice. Okay? I assure you it would be healthier. But you don't have to. Rabbi Katz did not turn vegan. He didn't turn, he still had, but he was able to recognize and understand what's the high calorie density. The popcorn, if it was only popcorn, it might be okay, but it's not okay. Why? Because they add tons of salt and tons of sugar and tons of fat into it. Look at the labels. Understand that if you're taking in a high amount of fat is double the punch. It's 9 calories per gram. Protein and carbohydrates only 4. So lower your fat intake, increase your good carbohydrates, your less refined things. Things that are rich in water, melon. I mean, things that are wholesome and good for you, you're going to win. Because you're not going to be as full. And I give the example, it's not just calories in, calories out. Because I can show you 1,000 calories in pizza, and I can show you 1,000 calories in bananas. Same calories, different makeup. One's about 70% fat, that's the pizza. The other one's about 7% fat, that's the bananas. It's more like 4, but I'm just going to kind of keep it. It's 10 times as fat in the pizza. But what's in the pizza? You've got highly refined sugar, you got a lot of salt, you got a lot of fat, you got a lot of excitatory chemicals in there. And your brain just goes, oh, this is amazing. Who doesn't like pizza? Okay, I have a brother-in-law who doesn't like pizza. but he's a little bit of a rarity. Most people love pizza. It's highly addicting food. Okay? I still like pizza. I haven't eaten it in 7 years, but I like it. But they make good vegan pizza, which is still not healthy, but at least it's a little bit in step direction. I don't recommend that either. Okay, but and I don't use the word moderation. You're not going to hear me say, "Oh, a little bit of moderation." Moderation is only for stuff that's healthy for you. Okay, there's no moderate, level of cigarette smoke. There's no moderation when it comes to arsenic. Those are things you don't want in your body. So once you clear up the confusion, you understand that if I'm eating foods that are high in calories, it's not just the calorie, but it's the refining process. It's the caloric density. That fools your body. Okay, why? Like I said before, if I eat 4 apples, I'm going to fill up after 2 or 3. I might not even be able to eat the 4. But if I drink the glass, so here's the example. So what happens is when you drink, you're systematically over-consuming calories, but you're not as full. And if you're not full, remember I said we're wired to be satiated. We're wired to eat until we're full and then we stop. That's what all other species on this planet do. So what's the reason? What's the reason behind it? Ultimately, it comes down to this. There's work done by Dr. Doug Lisle. He's a PhD, he's a psychologist, but he's very big in nutrition. So it's called the pleasure trap. You can look it up, it's a great book. Basically, there's 3 things that we're looking for to stay alive. One is we seek pleasure. Number 2, we avoid pain or discomfort. And number 3, we try to conserve energy. We don't want to work too hard. Path of least resistance. So when it comes to eating, in nature at least, we don't want to work too hard. We want to get the biggest bang for our buck. We want to get the highest nutrition value, the highest calories, which we can taste with our tongues. We can perceive it very, very quickly. And we don't want to work too hard. We don't want to, do anything dangerous. So when you give somebody a piece of pizza or ice cream, or something that's super high in calorie, your brain just says, hey, you know what? I don't really have to work very hard. This tastes really good. And you just keep going. And you're just addicted to it. And so you systematically overeat. But it's not necessarily the volume of overeating. It's the highest calorie and the calorie density. Okay, so look, if you ate an entire bowl of salad, right? What did we say before? 100 calories per pound. And I gave you 4 or 5 pounds of roughage. What is it mostly? Water, fiber. There's no calories in that. So it's a lot of bulk. And there's 2 things that make you full. 2. One is stretch receptors in the stomach, right? You literally feel like, oh, I got to undo, top button and sit back. Full, that's one. Number 2 is your brain can sense the level of the caloric density in the foods. That's what I meant by, if you take a taste of an apple that's not ripe, your body just goes, let me throw that away, let me find a better one. Because your body instinctively knows it. So if you put in the right amount, the calories that can be detected, then your brain can shut off that hunger drive, and it makes you satiated. And then you say, I'm finished, I'm full. That's why when Rabbi Katz was saying, I'm having these not milkshakes, by the way, I don't recommend milk, but smoothies. That's why you can have a smoothie, and you can have an enormous amount of volume, but yet you're like, oh, I'm full. Because it did 2 things. It satisfied both satiety mechanisms. One, it stretched you out. Your stomach only holds about 700 milliliters. It's not that much. It's like maybe 2 fists, not even. It's like the size of a pita, okay, a falafel. Eat that, you're full. That's the size of your stomach. So you stretch it out. Number 2 is it gave the body enough of an indication of the glycemic index, okay? That sugar rise in your blood, your brain picks up very quickly and says, cool, got it. Don't go anymore. So it shuts off the hunger drive and now you're not hungry. But when you eat something like pizza, and I'm going to keep using that as an example because that's the ultimate example of what you don't want to eat, you will not trigger the satiety mechanism. If you eat the bread, you'll eat and eat and eat, and your body won't detect it fast enough. And by the time it stretches out the stomach, you are way over the 300, 400, 500 calories that would normally fill you. And you're doing 700, 800, 900, 1,200 calories in a meal. And now you've overeaten. And you do that day in and day out, over the years you're going to gain 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds. So it's really simple. Right, Doc, yeah, it's really easy, right? It's not easy, I understand that. But you have to get away from the foods that are highly addictive. You can either do it slowly, or you can do it cold turkey. Rabbi Katz just jumped right into it. His aha moment He's like, you know what? This just makes sense. This is what I have to do. I have to work out. I have to do this. And we debated, and we spoke weekly. Every week he gave me updates. Every week he gave me pictures. I've got like 47 pictures of Rabbi Katz, because every week he's like, when is this going to change? How do I do this? What do I do? He was constantly asking me questions. But that's how he learned, and he got aware of it. And every single week he got a little bit smarter, a little bit smarter. He's a smart guy, brilliant guy. I don't mean to sound, God forbid, I don't want to give you the impression like he's not an intelligent fellow. He's very intelligent. And all of you are intelligent. We all are, but we're stupid when it comes to nutrition. We're stupid when it comes to food. And they like it that way. Okay, that's how they sell a lot of Doritos. Because you don't know anything about what's going on, and they're going to fool you, and their chemists will fool you. And you'll keep going back for another one, another one, another one. And before you know it, by the time you are full, oh, you're way past it. So you have to learn, and again, this is tools, not rules. And we're going to sum it up now because I know you guys you're good. We don't want to keep going, but we're welcome to stay for questions. You may have questions for Rabbi Katz, you may have questions for me. Those of you got to take off. Thank you very much for coming. The key here is be more aware. Understand what you're putting into your body. You're doing it 1,000 times a year, at least. 3 meals a day, 365 days a year. It's a lot of food. Make sure you know what's in there. Read the labels. Understand where and how much you're getting in. If you have no clue anything we're going to talk about tonight, get the app. It's free. Plug in everything you eat tomorrow, and it'll tell you how many calories that you consume. It'll also tell you, based on your age, height, and weight, what your average calorie burn is per day. You don't have to be a doctor to figure this stuff out. You don't have to be a nutritionist. She'll tell you, whatever. Siri, is your best friend. The app will tell you how many calories you burn per day. And then if you track how much food you eat, just do it for fun. I've been doing this for 7 years myself. I still use loseit.com. I personally lost 30 pounds just by eating more food and switching and making better food choices. And it didn't take very long. But you'll feel better, you'll be healthier, you'll live longer. You will be amazed at how different you feel. And it only takes a few weeks. It doesn't take very long. It doesn't take 6 months. 6 months to lose a lot of weight, but it only takes a few weeks to notice a difference in how you feel. So eat cleaner, eat more natural, whole food, real food. Don't eat fake food. My best advice is if it has a label, don't eat it. It's hard to read the labels. Don't eat anything with labels on it. Eat an apple. What's in it? Apple. Want to eat celery? Eat celery. Want to eat mango? Want to eat dates? I mean, there's plenty of good food. You don't have to eat just salad every day, and I don't. Eat tons of fruit. Don't shy away from fruit. I'll answer that later on. I know that's a big debate. I have so many patients that come in and say, I'd love to eat healthier, doc, but my doctor tells me not to eat too many bananas. Because why? It's too high in sugar. As if the sugar in the banana is the same thing as the high fructose sugar that's in the corn syrup. They're not the same. That's a big lie. So, key is keep it simple. Be aware of what you're putting in your body. Be aware of what calories are. Try to track it. And look into eating more natural, whole food type of foods. And the less processed, the better. The higher the processed, remember, salad is on the lowest end. That's not processed. You go all the way up to oil, okay, and you have breads and you have all these things. Anytime you cook, anytime you break it down, anytime you process things, you are simply constricting the calories. You're making it more and more and more concentrated. So eat higher volume foods that has less calorie density as opposed to the oils and chocolates and all that stuff. And that's the idea. Okay? Like I said, there's no secrets. There's also no rules. But these are tools for you guys to understand. Hey, this can make a difference. And take it, if it's not for yourself, take it home and talk to other people. And you get them started. It's miraculous. I've always been very fortunate to help patients get out of pain. And that's certainly great. But man, when you can get somebody to lose 100 pounds, I mean, that's life-changing. And I get more pleasure out of something like that than I do, just helping somebody with back pain or neck pain. That's a big statement coming from somebody who's trained in doing that for 20 years. So, thank you very much for coming out. I hope you guys learned something. If you have any questions, you're welcome to either ask me or Rabbi Katz. Take some food. We don't want to take it home, so take it, eat it. It's fairly good, except for the bread. Okay. Good. Okay. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
There you go.